the lady in black. She's got a thing for tradition, a hankering for history, and she sure likes a good challenge. Well, when Throwback Weekend comes to town, she'll get exactly what she wants and play extra hard to get.
We're in the wall.
Shall we dance? NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover here with you in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, at our home studio for this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We're glad you're with us as we talk about some Alabama football, some Alabama baseball, and some racing as well with NASCAR. We'll go through everything coming up on the show, plus our headlines thanks to our friends at RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us a smart board to go through everything in an interactive way here with you on Crimson Drive. We'll be starting the show by talking some football with long snapper Kneeland Hibbett, who's been part of some great moments in Crimson Tide football history. He's also one of the funniest personalities you'll see on social media from the Crimson Tide football team. So a great conversation with Kneeland Hibbett, followed by a one-on-one conversation with McCants of the Alabama baseball team. The center fielder was really at the center of everything this past weekend in Oxford against his former team, Ole Miss, as he helped lead Alabama to a series win. We'll talk about that with McCants, as these interviews were recorded at the Advantage Center, Bryant-Denny Stadium, our unique one-on-one conversations we have with student athletes here on Crimson Drive. Then we'll close out the show by hearing about some experiences that our student athletes had at Talladega Superspeedway just over a week ago at the Geico 500. Telvin McClurkin, a crew member for RFK Racing on Brad Keselowski's team, he'll join us to talk about what he kind of got to show Alabama football players like Malachi Moore and Jalen Milroe and Kneeland Hibbett all about the world of NASCAR. So that'll be coming up to close out the show. Start our headlines with Crimson Tide baseball team. Fresh off a series victory, the first road series win of the season in conference play last weekend at Ole Miss. Took the first game 12-0, a back-and-forth loss in game 2, but still Alabama played well. Then the Crimson Tide broke out the bats again to a dominant win on Saturday to get its first SEC road series win. Justin LeBron leading the way at the plate. He's been named the SEC Player of the Week. You'll hear TJ McCants talk about his terrific freshman season so far coming up in our interview with him. Now this weekend, it's Alabama at Mississippi State. The Crimson Tide ranked 18th in the country. Mississippi State 12-9 in SEC play. The Crimson Tide 9-12. So still trying to climb up the standings. This is a critical weekend coming up in Starkville against the Bulldogs. Taking a look at the Crimson Tide softball team this past weekend, hosted Tennessee for the final regular season series at Rhodes Stadium and won the finale against the third-ranked Lady Vols. Now this weekend, starting tonight, it's Alabama at Auburn, a critical 3-game series to close out the regular season. Then next weekend, as I mentioned, the SEC tournament, that is also on the Plains at Auburn. So lengthy stay coming up, hopefully coming up for Alabama softball, but it all starts tonight with a 3-game series against the Auburn Tigers to round out the regular season. Final notes around Crimson Tide athletics. The tennis team, NCAA tournament bound. Congratulations, George Husak, on that honor for the men's tennis team. Football last week, of course, the first 3 days, or the 3 days of the NFL draft, really busy, especially in that first round with 3 first-rounders for the Crimson Tide selected in the NFL draft. Congratulations to all those guys on moving on to the next level. Rowing, their regular season is coming to a close. Track and field continuing to be strong. The men's team ranked 4th in the nation. Women's team number 15, and also congratulations to the Alabama men's golf team. Yesterday we learned that they are heading to a regional in Chapel Hill to start its postseason run in the NCAA tournament. Right now on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, we wanted to talk some football with Kneeland Hibbett, really talk a little bit of everything with Kneeland Hibbett, as he got to be one of our student athletes as well that made the trip to Talladega. He'll talk about his NASCAR experience as well as we continue with Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. I'm Roger Hoover, joined by Alabama football long snapper Kneeland Hibbett as spring practice has come to a close. Kneeland, roll tide. It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too. Thanks for having me on.
Well, what was spring football like? A lot of changes around the Alabama football facility, but for you, what did spring football look like?
It was awesome. You know, when I first met with Coach DeBoer, my biggest thing was, listen, like I'm going into my senior year. The one thing that I ask is on punt, I would like to be able to block in the A-gap, because the 3 years that I'd been here, the style that Saban and run had been a spread punt. And you can run that in college, but when you get to the NFL, nobody can release downfield until the punter kicks the ball. So every single NFL team uses the long snapper in protection. So when colleges or when NFL teams are looking to draft snappers or pick up snappers, the biggest question is who can block. So I just told him that's going to be a big thing for me to be able to have a shot at the NFL next year. And he hired a special teams analyst to come in, help us get us right, and now we're blocking on punt. So the big thing that I really like about him is, you can just go talk to him and be like, listen, this is a goal that I have, and this is something that needs to happen to help me get there, and he's all ears. So he's super helpful. The coaches have been great, and everybody's come together very smoothly. So I'm super excited for this year.
So again, on punts this year, we're going to see you blocking, not necessarily gunning it downfield, and let's say getting a tackle or getting a punt recovery like you did against Auburn a couple years ago.
Well, I mean, hopefully some big plays like that are still in there. But at the same time, I want to be able to show, the different things that I can do before my senior year is over with.
Those had to be some of your favorite moments.
Oh, hands down. I mean, everybody knew that, I came here as a walk-on, and my dream was to play for Alabama. I mean, I have a photo of me when I was about 7 years old holding C.J. Mosley's glove down by the gate where we run out of the tunnel now after an Iron Bowl win in Bryant-Denny Stadium. So being able to play in one about 10 years later and get a fumble recovery was super, super special to me and my family.
Absolutely. So for you, I mean, it really is a dream come true getting to play for Alabama. What was the spark of that dream going back?
So my granddad played for Alabama through 64 and 67 and got drafted to the Cowboys in the first round. And just having that legacy behind me has always been very, very inspirational to play for Alabama. But he was a wide receiver. I didn't get that. So I found long snapping, and I realized when I was a young kid, like, if I want to play football, I think I could be able to play for Alabama if I learn to get good at this. And here we are.
And where'd you grow up?
Florence, Alabama. So it's about 2.5 hours north. Not too close to campus, not too far away, but perfect distance.
What'd you like about your hometown?
I like the people. I like the food was really good. There's a lot to do in Florence. Huntsville is right next to us, and they're expanding very, very fast. And every time I go back to Florence, there's always something new. So they're growing very fast, very rapidly. It's turned into a big city, and it's a great place for people to live.
Were you on the North Alabama campus much growing up or in high school?
Yeah, I actually went on a visit to UNA, one of my only football visits when I was a junior. But I was around UNA a lot. It was a great campus. A lot of my good friends go there. But I think I'll be back up there soon for summer just to see all my friends. So that'll be fun.
So how'd you start to develop in football? Was long snapper your first pick, or where were you kind of first on the field?
So I'll never forget it. 7th grade, Coach Donovan, our assistant coach, put me at center, and then apparently he was told that our team is going to have to punt that year, and he was like, you know what, Kneeland, you're the long snapper too. So I was like, all right. So I did try to snap from 10 yards, and it was pretty good, and I was like, might be able to learn this a little bit. So ever since 7th grade, that's kind of when it got started.
You got focused on doing that for punts and also for field goals and point after attempts. Did you play any other positions along that with that in high school?
Dude, 9th grade, I was just a long snapper. Sophomore year, D-line and long snapper. Junior year, left tackle and long snapper. Then senior year, tight end and long snapper. So it was all over the place. But long snapper was always my primary position, and I knew that's what I wanted to play.
How'd you hone in on that, too, in the offseason, really refining those skills, trying to play at the next level?
The biggest thing is just snapping. Just point-blank period, you just got to snap a lot. And I remember when I was a kid just trying to learn the fundamentals of it. I got my mom's gardening bucket and put it on a basketball goal and tied it with 50-pound fishing line net. And I remember my mom took me to Five Below to get 4 $5 plastic footballs when I was a kid, and I just sat up and just snapped to that goal all day long. And that's kind of how I really learned long snapping form and got into it. And it was always so funny because, I was just a eighth grade kid just snapping into a gardening bucket, and all my friends would be like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, I don't know. I think I could do this long snapping thing. But it was always funny. But, that's how I really got started at it.
How many snaps a day are we talking about?
Maybe 50 to 75. It was fun to me, which was the weird thing and why I really liked it so much. Like, it wasn't something in chores like, oh, I got to go snap today. Like, it was something that, like, I genuinely enjoyed and loved doing, and I still like doing it.
Is it kind of like a golf swing? It's something you can repeat, but there are still some subtle differences that change kind of day to day or even snap to snap.
Well, I got to work on my golf swing a little bit, so I don't know if they look both the same, but it is. I mean, it's the same as swinging a baseball bat, shooting a basketball. I mean, it's one repetitive motion, but it's something that you have to have a lot of muscle memory with to be able to do again and again and again.
So that was really your focus, and obviously with that, you wanted to play at the next level. What were some of the early college interests you started to receive?
None. Like it was actually very difficult because, getting recruited in long snapping is so different than being an athlete. You know, all these other guys that are getting these stars and playing positions. You know, it's very easy, but not many people take the specialist route, so it's very hard to get a scholarship. And when you do, you're probably very, very good. So when I was coming out of high school, I had no scholarship offers. It was a walk-on offer to Wyoming, Troy, Bowling Green State, and Alabama. And I was very close to going to Wyoming because the Alabama coordinator at the time was not interested in me at all. I would blow up all these special teams analysts and coordinators trying to get an offer, and just nothing happened, especially from the coordinator that was there. But my senior year, he went to Texas, and they hired somebody who I had talked to a little bit at Rice. And luckily for me, it worked out. Started talking. They gave me a walk-on offer, and I took it.
So when you say you were blowing it up, is that just like on social media, just trying to get their attention, sending a link to your tape and stuff like that?
I would go to every Power 5 college, find a coach, either a special teams analyst or coordinator that I could just DM on Twitter. And I would go out and I would film a video long snapping, and then I would film a personalized video. Say it was to Coach Johnson of ULM. I'd film a video and say, "Hey, Coach Johnson, my name's Kneeland Hibbett, long snapper from Florence, Alabama. I love ULM. It's a great college. Here's my long snapping film." And then I would clip that video and then just send it. And I would probably make about 30 different clips and just send them to all these coaches. And it never worked, but I was trying my hardest to get any type of offer, but it eventually worked out.
You may have a career in sales coming up after this, because that's what a lot
Dude,
of that is.
I was so desperate for an offer. I just wanted an opportunity, so I was happy to finally get one.
Camp's a big part of that as well for you in the summer?
It is, but what a lot of kids realize is when you go to these camps, you're paying $400, $500, and a lot of times you could be a best snapper there, but if you got a kid who's going to 10 camps a year and they know him, then he's going to be ranked higher. So that was really difficult for me because those camps were very expensive for us. So I got to go to maybe one camp a year until my sophomore year, and they were like $500 or like $1,000 round trip to go. So that was my Christmas present for 3 years, and it just never worked. Like coming out of high school, I was ranked 172. And, everybody above me just had offers, and it was just very difficult to try to work with these camps. So I went to one-on-one kicking in Birmingham, Alabama with Mike McCabe and Jackson Cook, and my recruiting just sparked from there because I was able to go to one-on-one and snap to all these pro kickers and pro punters and be surrounded by guys who do it at a high level. And doing that and getting film out really helped my recruitment and got me to Alabama.
Who are some of the high-level college guys or pros you got to meet as part of that?
AJ Cole, Ty Long, different guys in the Rodrigo Blankenship. So guys that I was just able to be around, see how they work, and just they brought their snappers, and I was able to watch them. So being able to be around that really kind of helped me get in the mindset of what it takes to get to the next level. So that helped a bunch.
So we've talked to a few guys in here about the recruiting process, and again, when Coach Saban kind of got involved in the recruiting process. Now, for you, getting to join Alabama as a walk-on, did you ever have a chance to really get to know him much one-on-one before you signed?
No. The first time I saw Saban was when he walked into a meeting room. And it was just like exactly how you think it would be, just a walk-on seeing Saban for the first time. And we all heard about these player meetings before summer was over with, and we didn't know that the walk-ons don't get meetings. So I was so excited. I was like, I finally get to talk to Saban. He'll know that I'm a long snapper, but that never happened. But as a walk-on first coming, you don't get much interaction, so you kind of have to work your way up the totem pole, and it took a really long time.
What was it like when you finally got a chance to talk to him one-on-one?
It was fun. I mean, I was able to sit down and just be like, hey, like, it was after I'd started for a year. So, like, he had said, like, small things, like, every now and again, but we never had an actual conversation, like, my entire freshman year. So, it was actually at the end of it when we had a meeting, And he was like, yeah, you did good. Just, Saban breaking down long snapping film, not very detailed. He was like, you did good. You had a great year. And then we just talked about scholarships and, he was able to be very gracious, help me out. So he was a very good coach to play for, and I'll always appreciate him.
So take me back to that freshman year, that fall camp. How difficult was it making that adjustment going from high school to playing college football?
So it was actually very weird my freshman year summer because I was super, super pumped up, was working so hard when I first got there, and I went to summer and just did horrible. I mean, my snaps are all over the place, but our analyst, Jonathan Galante, who's the special teams coordinator at Marshall now, he saw something, and whenever they were choosing rosters to go into fall camp, Saban and our coordinator had picked their 2 guys to go to fall camp and compete for the starting job. And Galante kind of butted in the conversation and was like, listen, like, I think we should take Kneeland and the other guy. And they trusted him, and they took me to fall camp, and just that's all I needed. And a switch flipped, and I was able to snap well and get the starting job. So when I first got here, it was pretty difficult, but I owe a lot to him for giving me that opportunity.
So that was the 2021, your freshman year. You get to start working with Will Reichert. What was it like getting to know him for the first time?
It was great, man. When you are surrounded by a guy like Will and you just are constantly seeing him work and how he wants to perfect his craft, it's so contagious for an entire group. So the 3 years that he was here, especially when he was coming back, I mean, it brought tears to my eyes because I knew that I was going to be able to be with him for one more year. And he's had such a great impact on me, being able to learn from him, watch how he works. He's left nothing but a positive impact on the university, especially our group as specialists. And I think you were an Alabama fan way before him, so you know the thing around kickers in Alabama. So he's completely changed that, and I really, really appreciate him for everything he's done for me.
What can you tell us about the in-game just consistency that he would have in mindsets? I mean, he never really got rattled even when teams would call a timeout, trying to ice him with a late-game kick. I mean, he made it when he had to.
So, I remember even against Texas, when, it was 100,000 people wanting him to miss, and they iced him, and we got back on the field, and he's just sitting there like, we do this. This is nothing new to us. And it was something that always gave me and James really good confidence because we know as long as we just get the ball down, we're fine. So he always had a great mindset, and it trickled down to us, and it always made us have kind of comfort of heart just knowing that, he's not worried, so why should we be? So, he always had a great mindset that helped us a ton.
Now, a great mindset maybe wasn't always there with James, was it, as the holder? Let's talk about the 2021 Ironman.
So I remember that. Dude, where'd you hear that story from?
I did my research for this interview.
Dude, I remember it was right after Corey Brooks caught that touchdown, and it was in the Iron Bowl, and it was 9-10. Everybody's like, oh, we're going to tie it up. Not yet, because before in that game, man, we had field goal problems. We had to take out the holder, and it was James's first time holding ever in a football game. So it was really scary, but I remember I walked up to him. I was like, hey, man, we got this. We're Alabama. We do this. I was so scared. I did not know what I was saying. I was just petrified. And he was scared too, but, I mean, we got it off, and it was a fun experience at the end of the day looking back at it.
Game time point after. And, again, maybe not in the right headspace, but you guys got it done, though.
Because, obviously you never go out there and you get on top of the ball and you never think, oh, well, what's going to happen if I snap it over his head? But, it's the Iron Bowl, close to beating Auburn. It would have been a bad situation. So
crazy things happen in that stadium.
Exactly,
especially with
special teams.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, I mean, we can look back at kick 6 now and say 4th and 31, so I'm okay. We're all good as Bama fans now, but it was definitely scary, but very, very fun story to tell now.
Yeah, what's it like getting to work with a holder and kind of the practice? How is practice structured for you guys compared to the rest of the team?
I mean, it's just the same as a pitcher catcher. Hey, let's go grab a bullpen. Every time at practice, and we'll be just hanging out after a period, just hey, let's grab 15 holds. So it's just more of a repetition thing and just being able to do it over and over and over again.
And for you, do you feel like you've improved in a lot of ways in your snapping compared to where you are now versus when you were a freshman?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there was a big difference from when my freshman year, when I got here, to right now within the aspect of kind of finding the right details of when you're long snapping, because you don't really see it when you're watching a game. But, when I'm snapping field goals to the holder, I'm supposed to snap the ball at a rotation and speed to where when James catches it, the laces are facing up, so he can just put it down. Or now that we're blocking on punt, now I have to snap, get my right leg back, blocking the A-gap. So it's a lot of different things, but, at the end of the day, it's still a long snap. So still the same thing since freshman year, just a lot more muscle memory.
Kind of like I asked you about Will Reichard. What was it like getting to know and getting to work with James Burnip, who, again, maybe didn't grow up loving Alabama football because he didn't watch much football before he got to the United States?
It's great. James, he grew up playing a sport type of football, Australian rules football, but he's been awesome, and the adjustments that he's made to get better has been amazing. So, we'll still be rugby in this year. He'll still be putting them down at the 2. So he'll have a great year, and I'm excited to watch him work because he's an extremely hard worker. Yeah,
mentioning your punt coverage before, there was that close call against Mississippi State. Walk us through that play first, and then we'll talk about the 2022 Iron Bowl.
Well, I ran down the field, and the guy dropped it, and the ball was in front of me. And obviously not the best athlete, so I couldn't get it for some reason. And it just popped out of my hands, and Jalen Moody got it. At the end of the day, we got the fumble, so I was happy. But I don't know if you saw that video that the football team made. So after that, I was like, you know what, I guess some funny came out of it, so I guess that's all right. But it's always fun to be able to get down there, and even if I don't make plays, being around them and seeing my friends make plays. So it's always fun to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, and then the 2022 Iron Bowl, you recover a muffed fumble by Auburn. Auburn still doesn't believe that their returner touched the football at all, but you were right there.
Mm-hmm. What was the call?
It was Alabama football. Alabama got it back. Yeah.
Okay, and that's all that matters.
How good was that moment, though, getting to celebrate, especially, again, for you? You love Alabama football. You love the Iron Bowl. To get to celebrate like that must have been incredible.
All right, well, let's be completely honest. At the time when I did get the ball, I didn't think that he did touch it. So I didn't know if they would have called it like they did. So I guess he did touch it. But, it was just so incredible to experience that because, always in a game, like, people dream of like having moments in like a Super Bowl or like a national championship winning play like Devontae Smith, but in a weird way, like that was like my dream, being able to make a play against Auburn like in an Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa. So that was a game that I've always grew up watching, and being able to do something small like that, even not a game-saving play when we even need a fumble, like just being able to make a play like that was very fun.
You've also had some good moments in SEC championship games for Alabama, because I think everyone knows around college football, Georgia's had one of the best defensive lines in the nation the last few years. In 2021, 2023, Alabama beats Georgia in Atlanta. How meaningful was that?
Oh, my God. It was amazing. I remember when we first went in that play after the first drive, and it was like 3 and out, and they scored on their first drive. I think we all just kind of looked at each other like, okay, yeah, this will be a ball game. And, we just slowly started picking up momentum and going, and Will was able to break the all-time scoring record. So that was super fun to be able to do it in that game as well, and also come out with a win. So being able to kind of experience that last championship in Mercedes-Benz Stadium with Saban was super incredible.
Then you get to play in the Rose Bowl, and again, another great moment for you. You're credited with a tackle on punt coverage.
Yeah, so I think anytime you get to play in a stadium like the Rose Bowl, it's such an honor. So being able to even go out to L.A. with the team and experience that was amazing. So, coming to Alabama, winning or losing, being able to play in games like that, it's always rewarding. So I was really happy with last year.
So Alabama fans have really gotten to know you for your play on the field, but they've also gotten to know you for your social media presence that you have away from the field, and maybe you have a few more followers, say, than most guys on the team. When did you start to develop a voice, specifically on TikTok with some of your comedy stuff?
So it first started when my girlfriend's roommate's friend asked me to coach a sorority flag football team. And I politely declined because why would I want to do that? And my girlfriend heard about it from her roommate. And she said, no, you're going to have to coach a flag football game. And I was like, okay. So we went out there, and I had a little mic that I had bought that I was going to do like for player interviews, like just as a joke. And I was like, wouldn't that be funny if I like just clipped this and we videoed it? And I was like you ever seen Kicking and Screaming? Will Ferrell? I was like, what if I was just like a coach like that, like just bossing them around? Because I got 3 sisters, so I mean, I've always been like the witty, like making fun, like just doing stuff like that. And I posted the video, and the next day it had like 1 million views and 200,000 likes, and I was like, maybe people like this character. So I started posting videos, was able to get some NIL deals, and then donate a portion of that to charities and foundations that I'm passionate about. So being able to do TikTok has helped a lot of my outreach, kind of be known off the field, but also do well with NIL.
How much have you enjoyed getting to be part of this new NIL era again? It's why we have this studio here at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I mean, it really is a different day and age for student athletes.
It's great. I think it's turned into people being able to actually benefit off their name. And, I think that'd been a long time coming in college football. Shout out Reggie Bush getting his Heisman back. So being able to do that, actually use your name to be able to help organizations, people, and even yourself when you're a college athlete and you can't have a full-time job. So being able to have a little extra money helps.
Who are some of the organizations you're passionate about you trying to get money to?
Concussion Legacy Foundation. So my grandfather has CTE from when he played at Alabama and in the NFL, and giving money to CTE research to find a cure, help a cause, really means a lot to me. So being able to do that through NIL has helped a bunch.
That's certainly good. And then music as well. You've been active playing some in Tuscaloosa.
Heck yeah, man. I'd always enjoyed playing music back in Florence. I play at restaurants and hotels for just side hustles, and got here and started doing that at a couple restaurants. And then one of my freshman year summer roommate, Jonathan Bennett, who was a running back, he's graduated now, told me that he was a drummer. And I was like, shoot, man, let's find a guitar player and a bass player. Let's get a little band together, start playing at some bars. And we did, and they've been great. So we've played at like Innisfree, Moe's, Rabbit Hole, just little bars like that, and it's been a lot of fun.
So I imagine with all of that, you've got to be pretty recognizable when you walk around campus.
Yeah. I mean, it's usually people walk by, and then you hear as you keep walking, that was the TikTok guy, and it's like, oh, I also play football, but it's kind of funny that people recognize me as the TikTok guy, and then realize that I play football. It's kind of a compliment because I don't want them to know me from football, because as a long snapper, you're not supposed to go notice, and if people do know you, that's not really good. So it's always been funny, but yeah, there's a little bit of recognition.
Of course, this show is sponsored by NASCAR, Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, and you were one of the football players that got to go to Talladega just over a week ago and experience the Geico 500. Just walk me through that day. How cool was that experience? It
was amazing, and I probably knew as much about NASCAR as the average person. Big circle, cars go fast, people have fun. So there's so much more to it when you actually go there and look at it and see how the teams work, what they have to put into the preparation, how they set up. So it's a really cool experience, but also able to see how teams work and how they get together for a common goal. So seeing how different teams worked was very interesting. But, man, those cars go fast. And it was a lot of fun to see. So, anytime I can go back to NASCAR and watch that, I definitely will, because it was an experience that I'll always remember.
And how about for some of your teammates as well who maybe had never watched a NASCAR race before?
Oh, I promise you, the buzz in that locker room after we came back, they're going to be going to NASCAR soon.
And we saw Jalen's picture with Michael Jordan. Was he the only guy that got to talk to MJ?
Absolutely, dude. So it was me, Devontae Smith, Trip Powell. And we walked up and we saw Michael Jordan, and he the guy we were with was like, hey, we got Jalen Miller on the Alabama football team. And Michael starts walking down. So obviously me and Devontae are like, okay, we're not going to push our luck. Let's step back and just let Jalen take a photo. Because, I'm not going to be the long snapper. Like, Michael, let me get a photo. Yeah, we can just let Jalen get a photo. That's okay. But Jalen got a photo with him. And then after that, we got to shake his hand. And it was super cool. So after he won, everybody was asking Jalen, how much credit do you take for his win? And it was a lot. It was really funny, but that was a really fun experience to be able to meet him and hopefully take a little bit of credit, giving him some good luck for his car winning that day.
Absolutely. So you're getting ready for what'll be now your senior season with the University of Alabama. What's the summer work you're going to put in to make sure you're ready to go for the fall?
I think the biggest thing is just staying consistent with snapping and working. I think many people get to the point of they can snap a good ball, and, that's good. I got muscle memory. But, just repetitive working again and again and again. I think it's always going to go back to, that kid who's on the basketball court, just snap into that net, just constant work again and again and again and again. So that was kind of my mindset freshman year. There's always going to be somebody more talented than me, but, if somebody works harder than me, then that's always going to be my fault. And, when I was growing up here, all the long snappers that have played here had played in the NFL. So, if I'm not able to make that happen, it's on nobody else but me. So I'm really excited for the senior year, and there's going to be a lot of fun work to put in.
Yeah, one long snapper I've gotten a chance to know for a long time, Carson Tinker. Have you been able to talk to him very much about what it was like when he was here and then in the NFL?
So Carson actually texted me before my game against Miami, just wishing me luck, and that meant a lot to me. And, I'd known Carson Tinker for a very long time, read his book, know his story, and just the inspiration that he took from that was very inspirational, just to be able to read his story. And, I remember after I read it, I drove to his old house where he talked about a field where he would go with his 2 dogs and just hit golf balls, and it would just clear his mind. And after reading that in the book, I was like, I just have to go there and see. And when you step in that field, man, there's just a peace that just calms your heart, man, and it explains it perfectly in his book. So he's a great guy. He's got a great story, and I'm super happy that he got a great, successful NFL career as well.
He really did. So is that going to be the next goal after you're done here at Alabama?
Mm-hmm. That's the ultimate goal. Just, don't have a plan B if you're really focused on plan A, and that's plan A. So I'm excited for it.
We're excited as well. Kneeland, Hibbett, it has been a blast getting to catch up with you, talk about your Alabama football career. Just best of luck with everything that's coming up. We look forward to seeing this fall. Roll Tide. Thank you.
Roll Tide. Thank you.
Crimson Drive is driven by NASCAR, and the official throwback weekend of NASCAR returns to Darlington Raceway May 10th through the 12th. Experience a weekend of good times, unforgettable racing, and a date with the track known as the Lady in Black. Don't miss your chance to witness epic racing, plus jaw-dropping NASCAR throwback paint schemes. It's a 3-day weekend of racing at the track that's too tough to tame. Purchase your tickets today at darlingtonraceway.com and experience a weekend you'll never forget. We continue on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, going right back to the Advantage Center at Bryant-Denny Stadium, where earlier this week we had a chance to catch up with Crimson Tide baseball player TJ McCants. The everyday center fielder for the Crimson Tide had a great weekend this past weekend in Oxford, Mississippi, going back to a place where he used to play for the Ole Miss Rebels. We talk about that, plus the journey from Ole Miss to Tuscaloosa, here on this week's edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
This is Roger Hoover with you from inside the Advantage Center at Bryant-Denny Stadium, joined by Alabama baseball center fielder TJ McCants as we talk about this great season that Alabama is putting together. And TJ, Roll Tide, welcome to the Advantage Center. How's everything going for you?
It's going good.
Well, we've certainly been enjoying seeing you and the Crimson Tide play as we record this interview. You guys are just coming off a series win against Ole Miss. Just what's fueled such a great start to the season for you?
For me personally.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, I was just, trying to find a place, coming here that was going to, help me with my approach at the plate. And I think these coaches just really bought into that with me and, get me in there to, work on the struggles that I had last year, which was, plate discipline, hitting the ball the other way. And early on in the season, I was, really doing good with that, and it was working out for me. Towards SEC play, it started to slow down a little bit, but, part of that plan was just being consistent. And they've, when I started to struggle a little bit towards SEC play, they took me back in there, and I hit with Pap a little bit. We worked on some stuff, and, just staying true to the plan is what's kind of gotten me to where I'm at. Just staying consistent and, trying to be the best that I can at the plate and in the outfield, obviously that too.
It's led to some really good results for you and the Crimson Tide. We'll get to your whole story about how you started Ole Miss, came to Alabama, but we got to almost start with that with this past weekend. 3 years playing for the Rebels, winning a national championship, then you transferred to Alabama. Did you ever figure you'd go back to Swayze Field wearing a Crimson uniform like you did this past weekend?
Like when I transferred here?
Yeah.
Well, I already knew I was going to play against them.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the same conference, same division. So I knew when I committed here, I was going to have to see them, but I kind of forgot that it was at Ole Miss. So yeah, when I realized that, it was kind of like I'm gonna have to go back there. It was cool though. I didn't expect to get booed or standing O. It was just, whatever happens.
Well, and the fans gave you a great standing ovation. You tipped your cap. You even tweeted about kind of your appreciation for the Ole Miss fans after that. Just what did that moment mean to you?
It was pretty cool. I saw some tweets and stuff about it before the at bat. Before the first day. So I kind of expected it to be a standing O at that point because I saw it on Twitter. So, I'd already had in my head what I was going to do because I didn't want to get up there and freeze. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get up there. If they standing on me, I'm going to go tip of the cap. Then I'm going to take a deep breath, take my bat. All right. But, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, really classy moment. And again, yeah, you had a great series at the plate. So the Crimson Tide kept firing on all cylinders. Just what's it like when this lineup gets hot like we saw at different times? The Thursday game had 9 runs in the top of the 4th.
Very dangerous. We have a really good lineup. the bat to ball skills in this lineup is crazy. You know, we don't strike out a lot, but we also don't walk a lot. But you know, we got a lot of guys that really like to hit the ball. So when we really get going, it's pretty dangerous from top to bottom.
Yeah, you really get to see that with the lineup, and then you got to be impressed as well. The pitching staff's continuing to pitch well. And how about Zane Adams as a freshman? What he's done the last few weeks?
Zane's been really impressive. You know, obviously was at South Carolina.
Arkansas, 8 scoreless innings, yeah.
Arkansas was just, I mean, that was crazy. I kind of like got numb to the fact that he was still going back out there for each inning. And, you know, as a freshman doing that in the SEC on some of the biggest stages is very impressive. Like people like him and LeBron, just the composure they have and the discipline and maturity they have already is it's really cool to see them go out there and do what they do.
Of course, you had success as a freshman at Ole Miss. Justin LeBron having a lot of success, as you mentioned right now. He's just named the SEC Player of the Week. Just how have you seen him grow as the season's gone along, and are you really surprised based on how well he did in the fall too?
No, I mean I'm not really surprised. The kid, he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's very mature, very confident. So seeing him going out there and perform is, you know, what I've expected. And you know, I've seen him do really good defensively, but now that I'm starting to see him pick up with the bat too, I mean, that's just another tool that he's added, and he's just been unreal for us in the 3 spot.
It's been really cool to see. So again, we'll keep talking more about Alabama baseball as we move forward, but do want to focus today on your story and how you got to Alabama. First of all, how'd you get involved in baseball? When do you first remember taking up this sport?
So I first started, I think I was about 5 years old when my dad put me in T-ball because, you know, he loved baseball all his life, and that's kind of what he wanted. He pushed us towards, and I'm not going to lie, baseball wasn't my first love. I was always in love with basketball. Like that was the one thing I loved playing. I loved practicing. It always caught my attention. But I started with T-ball, and my dad kept us in it. That's what we worked the hardest at, and that's kind of, you know, it just kind of got me here.
You and your brother at the same time?
Yeah. So he was 4, I was 5 when we first started to play T-ball.
So pretty competitive, I imagine, with each other growing up, and really across all sports, right?
Honestly, sports. I think sports kind of kept me and my brother from being as close as we could be. Like I would say these past 2 to 3 years, we've become a lot closer just because we've matured and gotten older. And, you know, I want the best for him. He wants what's best for me. But as kids, man, we were so competitive. Like, and it rolled over to everything off the court. Like, even playing in the backyard. Like you can ask my cousins. We would go to our house, like our cousin's house, and we would never play on the same team. Because I just wanted to beat him. He wanted to beat me. Like, we would never play on the same team. We could never get along. So, us being very competitive kind of like rolled over into everything. So we were very at each other's heads for a long time.
That's good, though. I mean, that's how, you know, you both get better. You know, obviously, for fans maybe don't know, you know, he was a 3rd-round pick of the Miami Marlins. And if I'm right, was he going to go to Mississippi State originally out of high school while you were still at Ole Miss?
Yeah, he was.
So it's like you can't play on the same team,
That's another part
right?
of us being a competitor, man. He had an offer from Ole Miss. I mean, bro, like you don't go to state on me. Like, that's what we're doing. Like, that just goes to show that's our relationship in a nutshell right there.
And how do you guys stay in touch now throughout the baseball season? Obviously, well, he was playing pro ball and you're doing your thing here at Alabama.
Nah, yeah, it's a lot more brotherly now, to be honest. But, you know, we text each other, call each other, like, after games he's doing good or doing bad, or I'm doing good or doing bad. We'll, you know, critique each other's swings. Like, he'll tell me what I'm doing wrong, what I was doing, what I need to start doing, stuff like that. So, you know, we talk to each other probably like 3 or 4 times a week. We play with each other on the game. So, you know, we keep in contact a good bit now.
What's he do best? I mean, what's he best at as a player? How is he going to project to the next level?
Well, for me, what I see him do the best every day is his confidence. Like, he's I was the kid. I was the brother that was like less confident, more like reserved, and he was always the extrovert, and that definitely was how he was in baseball too. He was always extremely confident. He was the guy that if he was playing someone that was a lot worse than him, he was going to beat him by 20. Like, he'd never, you know, he was just a dog on the field. But as far as like physical attributes, I think his bat to ball skills and just he has a really flat swing, and he's also really fast. Like, I hate to admit it, but he is faster than me. So yeah, he plays, and he's a really good defender. I mean, I think he's a really good player all around. But you know, hope he don't get to see this, but. Yeah, he's a pretty good ball player.
He really is. Again, he's in the Miami Marlins organization for Single A Jupiter. Definitely keep moving up. You could see him at Double A Pensacola, maybe Triple A Jacksonville before the year's over, and then obviously the goal is Miami, right?
Yep.
Well, that's certainly cool to see. And again, for you, baseball, you talked about how you developed as time went on. When did it kind of become clear that that would be your sport, that would give you the best chance to play college ball?
I would say probably in like 7th, 8th grade. I started to notice that like I would go weekends. There were certain weekends where like I wouldn't get out, and I was like, "Dang, man, this might be my sport." But I love basketball so much. I was like, maybe I can turn around in basketball and be good at that. But when I got to high school, I was 6'3". You know, coach had me playing 4 or 5. Like, nah, I ain't gonna get to the league doing that. So you know, I started getting some college looks when I went to WWBA, World Woodbat, in 9th grade. So that's when I started to kind of realize that, yeah, this is probably what I'm going to take to the next level and, you know, try to put my effort into.
Did you get to be around a lot of players, too, that were on their way towards college or pro ball? Because Pensacola has produced a lot of major leaguers throughout the year.
Yeah, man. Shout out Breakthrough Series. This is not Pensacola, but this is a camp for basically minority athletes in baseball. And basically a lot of black kids. We would go to a certain area or a camp, basically like Dodger Town, or we went to Pirate City. And basically the best black kids in the U.S. would go over there, and we would all compete and play baseball. And a lot of those guys was already committed. So, man, when I was a freshman, I remember my first year, I was there, and there was a lot of guys that like were big names. And at that time, I was thinking like I was kind of thinking to myself like, do I belong? And you know, just trying to figure out like, is this a sport for me? But being there for a while and, you know, creating relationships with guys, you know, you realize that, you know, you're all just playing the same game. And it made me grow a lot more confident in the game that I'm playing. And it was really nice seeing, you know, playing with a lot of people that look like me. So that was a really cool experience.
Any names from that group that our fans would recognize?
Actually, one of them was committed here. He played here, Miles Austin.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the first guys that I played with in Breakthrough Series. One of them's a pitcher in the big leagues right now. God, what is his name? I can't think of his name right now, but he's a pitcher for the Rays. Mike Harris was there, Rookie of the Year. Marquise Grissom. There's a lot of guys that are Lawrence Butler was there. There's a lot of guys that I can go down the list of names that some of them are still in the minors. Tink Hintz. Like, there's a lot of guys, but God, I can't leave out my boy Chandler Simpson either. So Kevo, God, I can go all day, but yeah, it's a lot of people that are still playing today. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
It really is cool. And for you, again, out of high school, made the decision to join the University of Mississippi baseball program. What led to you signing there originally out of Pensacola Catholic?
Honestly, I was just excited to get an offer from a big school. Like I didn't even know that. I hope nobody judge me for this, but I didn't even know that Ole Miss was like a baseball school when I first committed there. Like when I first got there and saw how big it was, I was like, dang, I really made a good decision when I was 15, 16 years old, because this is a huge baseball school and they really, prioritize baseball here. So when I first got the offer, you know, I just kind of asked my parents, like, is this good? Like, are we good to go with this or what? And they were like, yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm finna commit. I just wanted to get it over with.
And again, yeah, you had a tremendous freshman year for the Rebels 2021. What do you think led to some of your early success?
I think just having a chip on my shoulder, because the first 3 weeks, I didn't start the season as a starter. Like I was a guy that was on the bench. The first series we had was in Texas. It was like the Big Ten, I think, versus SEC. And I didn't play an inning there. Peyton Chanier ended up hurting his hamstring, and Garrett Wood, and John Rice Plumlee, we were all rotating. So I would play second, G Wood would play second, and then when John Rice Plumlee would play, Justin Bench would come play second, and John Rice would play center. So we ended up just rotating for a while, and then I ended up moving to center to stay in the lineup and get more at-bats when Peyton came back. So, from that point forward, just realizing that at the beginning of the year, like I wasn't supposed to be in this lineup, that just kind of kept a chip on my shoulder for the rest of the year.
And you had to you were making an impact as a freshman along with a lot of veteran players on that team, and then especially in 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good to see. And for you, you were able to, in 2022, to perform well for the Rebels. Obviously, a dream season in a lot of regards, winning the national championship. How did you navigate the ups and downs of that year?
Just keeping it one day at a time. It was tough, but just going to the field every day, just taking a deep breath, knowing that my parents are proud of me no matter what I do. That played a big role in it, and just taking it one pitch and one inning at a time. That was just all it was.
And on the field, that led to some great moments for you. Looking back, the home run you hit against Southern Miss in the Hattiesburg Super Regional. I mean, how meaningful was an at-bat like that as you really cemented your place in Ole Miss baseball history, getting the Rebels to Omaha? Then you hit a College World Series home run against Oklahoma. How great were those moments?
They were pretty. It was nice. So when I hit the one in Southern Miss, well, really both at-bats were me coming in as defensive replacement, and then I just happened to get in that bat. The one in Southern Miss was pretty cool for me because no one else had hit a home run in both 2 days. So that was the first home run of everyone. So I was like, dang, that was nice. I guess I got a juice like that or something. But the one in the World Series was obviously it was just awesome. There were so many people there. Like the roar of the crowd. I don't even think I felt my body running around the bases. Like you just black out after you realize what you just did. So they were both pretty cool.
And that's a hard ballpark to hit home runs in for anybody, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. Again, as Ole Miss won the national championship, you mentioned you looked forward to going to the field every day. What can you tell us about the off-field struggles you had that year?
I was just where do I start? So basically my parents came up for a weekend, and they kind of told me they had some news for me, and that my mom had cancer. She beat it the first time, and then it came back again, and they came back up this was on Mississippi State weekend. She came back up, and they told me that the doctor told her she had like 2 weeks to live. That was a really, 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 really tough time. I wasn't expecting that at all. I kind of saw it when she came down to take pictures with me. Like, she was a lot skinnier, and I didn't really take it. Like, I wasn't thinking like that at all. But they told me, like, yeah, I kind of broke down. I broke down for a while. You kind of just try to forget about it when you go on the field to, just try to play the best you can for your teammates. But stuff like that, it just rings on you a little bit. And, just having her after those 2 weeks, my dad refused to do hospice, like all that stuff. Like, he just spoke life into her, like, for as long as he could. And she was alive for a lot longer than 2 weeks. And just having her in Omaha was just awesome. And it was really cool for her to be able to see me do that. And, it was really nice for her to live as long as she did live, for the beautiful life she had.
Yeah, he really kept hope alive, getting those hotel rooms, as I read about, in Omaha, keeping that belief, even though, again, Ole Miss was not having the great season you wanted to have earlier.
That was crazy. My mama told me, she was like, she can see it. Like, she told me she can see us in Omaha, and I'm thinking, like, bro, not with this team. maybe next year or something. I don't know what she talking about, but no, she was talking about this year, and sure enough, we got there and won it, so that was pretty cool.
I mean, a meaningful celebration with your teammates, but I imagine with your family that much more meaningful.
Say what? Say it again?
I mean, I imagine just it had to be that much more meaningful to get to go in the stands, take pictures, have your mom and dad get to experience all that with you.
Yeah, man. Actually, when we won it, I was like everyone else going to their family and stuff, and I'm just looking up in the crowd like, where's my mama and my daddy? Like, I couldn't find them. So I had to go in there and get my phone out my bag to call my dad. I'm like, Dad, where y'all at? He was like, we got out of there because we didn't know how long he was going to be. Like, my mom, like, she couldn't just be sitting out there all the time. So I was like, no, y'all got to come back. Like, I got to get a hug. Like, you feel me? So I found him on the other side, and I go over there. Someone actually got a video of it and posted it on Twitter. When I actually first saw them, I ran up there and gave mom a big hug. That felt really nice. So, yeah, I was glad I got to see him. I would have been so mad if I didn't get to see him after the game, bro.
That's such a great moment. And again, the unfortunate news when your mom did pass away that fall, how did your teammates really help you out through all those tough moments, either, when you first got the news and then later on when she did pass away?
Oh, they were awesome. Well, about 3 days before she actually passed, my dad called me. I was upstairs in the training room, and my dad called me and told me that basically it was looking really bad. She had gotten sick from when she came up to Omaha, and I cried a lot then. And Jake, one of my best friends on the team, he took me outside. Like, we threw for a minute to get off my mind because I had to do a lift. We had practice. I didn't want to, like, distract anyone. So my teammates were huge, man. They were really good with, not swarming me, because I didn't really want people to feel bad for me. Like, we got a season to go, and I didn't want people just, thinking, oh, TJ's down, we need to help TJ out. Like, I'm good. Like, I think I'm a pretty relaxed guy, and I was able to, keep going. It was tough, but, I had people in my corner, so it was hard to get through. But, I didn't really want people all over me, and they did a really good job of just keeping me up when I needed it. So I really appreciate those guys and the coaches as well. They were awesome.
So you play the next year for Ole Miss in 2023. Ironically enough, the season ends for the Rebels in Tuscaloosa against Alabama on a doubleheader to close out the season. When did your mind start thinking about the transfer portal?
Pretty early, actually. I just kind of feel like my time kind of like ran out at Ole Miss. Sometimes it's just you just need a new place, a new change of scenery, just to get your feet back under you. And fan base, coaches, like everyone there is great, but I just feel like I just needed a new place to, get back to myself.
Were you thinking a program like Alabama from the start once you entered, or where did Alabama kind of factor into things?
No, I had no thoughts of Alabama at all. I was actually at first trying to get somewhere where I could go back to the infield, and after a while, I was kind of like, nah, I don't know if that's what's best, because then I'd have to go to a smaller division, and I didn't want to leave the SEC. So I got a call from Mo, I think, first, or Pat, one of them first, and they told me that they were the new guys. They were from Maryland. They had a really good hitting coach that could elevate my game, and after hearing that, I was kind of already sold. But then Garrett on top was the icing on the cake. Like, me and Garrett, I was really close with Garrett at Ole Miss, so him taking a job here was just the icing on the cake for my decision, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to roll it out here.
And fans may not realize Ole Miss played Maryland last year, right?
Yeah.
In Oxford, and let's see, Ian Petrutz kind of admired a home run for the Terrapins, and then I think a day later you admired a home run, and you heard about it a little bit from now some of your coaches here at Alabama.
Yeah, that was it kind of went, I wouldn't say viral, but a lot of people had a lot of opinions on that home run. So when I hit it, I wasn't there the first 2 days, and apparently they had chirped a little bit with Calarco's home run, I think. Mm-hmm. And I guess me doing what I did on top of that, I was just watching the ball because I ain't never hit a ball that hard, like pull aside before. So I was like, man, I got to see what this land type. So as I'm doing it, the catcher started talking trash to me, so I had to talk mine back. I couldn't just let him get the last word. So I was talking backwards, and then people got it on camera. And, yeah, it was some people liked it. Some people thought it was, next purchase to get a pitch to the ear, stuff like that. But, I mean, it was cool. Coach Bond told me he felt like everyone did exactly what they should have. Like, he felt like the catcher should have said something. He felt like I should have said something. He just thought it was played out perfectly. So, yeah.
Did you guys joke about that when you first started having conversations and
stuff?
First
time on the phone, I had to bring it up. Because that was just because I had kind of forgot about it. He brought it to me first, actually, and I was just laughing it off because I thought he was going to be mad at me for it, but no, he loved it.
That's really cool. What else do you like about this coaching staff, getting to know these guys and kind of the plan they had for you and how they've stuck to the plan as we've gone into the year?
I like that they put development first. Like, obviously they want to win games, being in the SEC. You lose your job if you start losing a lot, but they really, put an emphasis on developing players. I'm not really sure. I'm not a pitcher, so I really know what JJ's doing, but he's obviously good. He won a lot of stuff last year for that. But from a hitting standpoint, they just really focus on, plate discipline. We do a lot of plate recognition stuff. It's just – I think they do a really good job of making sure that everyone's getting better every day and not just focusing on, who we think is going to be good. Even the guys that don't play, we're all getting 1% better every day. And I think that's what they do a really good job of. And on top of that, they all, it's a younger staff. So it's really easy to joke around with them and play around with them with some stuff that you can't really play around with older cats. So, it's pretty nice having a younger staff, and they all get how I am. I can be myself around them without them getting too mad. So, I think that's pretty cool.
Was it pretty easy to embrace all the Alabama traditions? Did you enjoy going to football games in the fall and just getting part of this Alabama spirit that we have here?
Yeah, man, I had to learn. So at Ole Miss, and I went to a Catholic school, so I knew a bunch of country songs already. But I didn't know the fillers that they use on
Dixieland Delight.
Dixieland Delight, right? So I had to learn those, and once I got them, yeah, I was going crazy at the football games. I used to love singing that song.
Do you like having that in baseball now? Dixieland Delight.
I think it's more a football thing. I think it's cool with baseball, but I think it's way cooler with football. My baseball thing, me and Cole and Mizell, we sing what's the name of the song? Good Directions. We sing that song to the top of our lungs every time. I love that song.
I can imagine he sounds pretty good singing that. I mean, he's got a country accent.
Oh yeah,
that's saying it nicely.
Bull the country as it gets. Yeah.
That's really good. Well, the funny thing is about Dixieland Delight, I think it was the Arkansas series, maybe against South Carolina too. You guys scored in the bottom of the 8th every time after that got played.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a good love song. I don't know.
Have you enjoyed the atmosphere at the Joe, especially for some of the huge SEC weekends we've had?
Yeah. I mean, they show up. Obviously, it ain't like Ole Miss when we was getting 12, 13,000, but they show up and you can feel the crowd. So I like it.
Now, Evan Slide or William Hammer is mostly in right field. You're in center field. Do you hear a lot from the right field Rangers, the student section during a game? And did you hear a lot when you were playing for Ole Miss, so when you're coming to Alabama?
So here in center field, I don't really hear. I can hear what they saying to him, but they mainly just be talking to Evan. They call him the captain, and he get a lot of love from the student section. But when I was at Ole Miss, you mean like when I was playing for Ole Miss? Or
when they heckle you or stuff like that?
This past weekend?
Or a year ago when you were playing for Ole Miss at Alabama?
No, they didn't heckle me.
Okay.
Nah, they didn't do too much of that.
Well, it's good to have them on your side now, right?
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's certainly cool. Coming up, Alabama's got Mississippi State on the road in Starkville, and then back home against LSU, and then on the road at Auburn. Can you believe the season's getting to this point where we only have 3 SEC weekends left?
Yeah, man. It's crazy. This is my 4th year. It was my last year, so that's what I'm thinking about, man. I'm just trying to play every game the hardest I can because, it's about to be over with for me. So having to move on to the next level, hopefully. So, yeah, it's starting to get surreal at this point.
You excited about what this team can accomplish?
Oh, yeah. I think if we just keep rolling with how we've been playing, pitchers throwing how they've been throwing, hitters just keep attacking at the plate, I think we'll do really good things.
We'll look forward to seeing it. TJ McCants, thank you so much for all the time you've given us this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Best of luck. Roll Tide.
Thank you for having me.
When Throwback Weekend comes to town, the lady in black will play extra hard to get. Or as some might say, too tough to tame. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com.
Today we'll close out our show talking about a little bit of NASCAR, as we highlighted with Kneeland Hibbett earlier in this episode of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Some Alabama football players had the chance to go to the Geico 500 and really see what racing is all about, including getting an up-close and personal view of the RFK race team as they were working with Brad Keselowski, and as we will talk with one of the pit crew members for him, Telvin McClurkin, who played college football at Coastal Carolina. Now he's part of the pit crew for the number 6 car in NASCAR, but he'll join us to tell us all about the experience getting to meet Alabama football players and a little bit of what life is like inside the track at one of NASCAR's best teams, RFK Racing. Here's our one-on-one conversation with Telvin McClurkin of the number 6 car. Telvin, Roll Tide. It's great to have you on the show. How's everything going?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're really glad to have you here, as of course the NASCAR season is in full swing. And on Sunday, the week before, again, it was the Geico 500. You're working for Brad Keselowski, and you got to see some Crimson Tide football players. Yeah. Kind of what'd you take them through as they got to tour RFK's facilities?
It was nice having them out there at the track. They got an opportunity to come out to pit road and kind of get a glimpse at how our race operations work on race day. And they also had the opportunity to come at our simple home base of operations, our hauler. They got to tour that and kind of play with some toys and items in there. And I think they enjoyed it. It looked like they had a great time.
That's really cool to see, as again, they got to really experience NASCAR from all levels. And for you got to tell them about your experience, of course, as a tire carrier from the number 6 car. First of all, how did you get into NASCAR? Because you also have a college football background. You played defensive end for Coastal Carolina.
Yeah. So, like you said, I played football at Coastal, and my football career wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be. Of course, every kid got big dreams of going to the NFL, and it just wasn't in the cards for me. So I was looking to something to kind of, prolong my athletic career. I still had, the competitive side of me that still wanted something to do. And looking at different sports, I actually grew up watching NASCAR on television. My dad and my uncle, huge race fans. We would go to some of the tracks sometimes. And just so happened I was watching a race on one Sunday, and the pre-race show mentioned something about people wanting teams, organizations wanting former athletes, to come in and, see what they can do on pit road, because you're already used to, the structure of being part of a sports team, lifting the weights, you understand the travel aspect of it and being under pressure. So it kind of just worked out. I contacted a bunch of the teams, and RFK was the first organization to respond to me and bring me in. So I've been with them 9 years. So it's been a fun ride ever since.
9 years. That's great to see. What was that initial training like? Did you go through almost like a boot camp or kind of a football camp style, or getting things 2-a-day style workouts?
It was. They put me through a lot of workouts at different positions just to see what you pick up on naturally. Naturally, I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6'3", 250. So my size, is not necessarily a changer. Changer are more smaller guys. So it'd be Jackman tire carrier or gasman. And just being a carrier, carrier is what I picked up the fastest. And they bring you in. When they first bring you in, you have to practice with the development teams. And then from there, you practice maybe once or twice a day until you progress and get better. Then they'll send you off to do some races on the lower series. And then if you can make it, then you get to have the cup cars. So, yeah.
What were some of the cars you worked with in the lower series as you worked your way up to the Cup Series?
Oh, a bunch. I pitted basically in every series there is. The ARCA series, I was fortunate enough to win with Ryan Reed. The truck series, I was fortunate enough to have a championship with Ben Rhodes. I worked for Matt Crafton before, Johnny Sauter. The Xfinity series was Ryan Reed again. And Cup series, I've worked for numerous drivers, Matt Kenseth, Trevor Bayne, Michael McDowell, and now Brad Keselowski. So, yeah, I've worked for a few.
And that's really cool. And especially with Brad Keselowski, now you get to be part of somebody who's part of the ownership group for RFK. What's that experience like, getting to be with somebody who, again, is kind of seeing things from a global view for what's best for RFK and his number 6 car?
Well, it's great, actually. It's great for the organization, I would say. I've been here, like I said, for 9 years, and it was some things, like equipment wise, for instance, like in the weight room when I first got there, it was a small weight room, and now like he's come in and he's really understood like on the athlete side of things, you need nice facilities and you need a big open concept, kind of something like all the top Division I programs are going to. And he came in and he revamped our whole weight room, so now it's nice, big, whole bunch of weight racks. We got the nice turf going down the side. It's 100% state of the art, and it's not just the athlete side. It's the business side and the shop side where the guys built the cars. It's complete 180 from when I first started.
I'm curious as well, things have changed since you first started in terms of the cars going to the next generation and going also from the 5 lug nuts to just 1. Did that change your job very much? Are the tires a little lighter these days?
They are a little bit lighter, but you give and take, right? It's the pit stops have picked up tremendously. I think when I first started, maybe a good pit stop on a cup car was maybe 12 seconds, and now it's down to low 9s and high 8s, really. So it's it has been difficult as far as the adjustment going from those 5 lug cars to the single lug, but everybody, I mean, you got the best of the best. I mean, these guys are good. The athletes that we compete with week in and week out, and people are figuring it out. They're getting faster and faster every week. Like when we first went to this new style of single lug nut, I think the times where if you did like a mid 10-second stop, you were gaining spots, and now you're losing. You're losing 2 or 3 spots on each pit cycle. So I mean, these guys are truly good and gifted at what they do, and it just keeps getting better and better each and every single year.
What do you enjoy most about working as part of the pit crew in NASCAR?
Just just competing against other guys up and down pit road. We this is kind of like a traveling circus. We do 36 races a year, and you get to know guys up and down pit road, not just from your organization, but all the other organizations too. And that's competing against them, just trying to beat them each and every single weekend, each and every single pit cycle. That's the most satisfying part to me, because when you do, you get to talk trash to them, and then it just makes it fun going back and forth between the different teams.
Well, of course, as we talked about at the start, you got to host some Alabama football athletes, get a look at the entire operation for RFK. Do you hope more collegiate athletes will consider a career in NASCAR like you've had?
I do. I think NASCAR is one of those unique things where you really don't grasp the full concept of it watching it on TV. If you come to a race and see just all the intricate parts and pieces and all the people that make this thing come together to put this product out on Sundays, I think you can get a better grasp and better understanding at what makes it work. I think people will appreciate it more if athletes came out and gave it a shot as another avenue. If you necessarily doesn't make it work in the NFL or something like that. I think, like I said, it just provides an opportunity for athletes to still do something athletic and still get that competitiveness that they're seeking.
What's the rest of the season look like for you in the number 6 team?
Right now, it's going quite well. We didn't do too well yesterday. We got in an accident yesterday, but we've been doing good. We're sitting at a good spot in points right now, and we're still relatively at the beginning of our season. We still got a long way to go. The chase doesn't start until September, I believe, and the end of the season doesn't come around to November. So we still got a long way to go, but right now we're doing good, and hopefully we can get some wins this year and compete for a championship at the end of the year.
We look forward to it. You got a lot of people in Alabama rooting for you, especially our guys that were there in Talladega. But Telvin, thank you so much for your time talking about your experience. All the best to you and the rest of the RFK team moving forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Speaking of NASCAR, don't miss out on the track that's too tough to tame. NASCAR is returning to Darlington Raceway on May 10th through the 12th, and you don't want to miss the action. Purchase your tickets today at darlingtonraceway.com. Appreciate the time of Telvin McClurkin. We'll be talking with Paul Swan, a member of Austin Dillon's team, about the similar experiences that he had with Jalen Milroe and members of the Crimson Tide football team at Talladega, coming up on next week's show. But right now, it's time to say goodbye. But before we end this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, we have to take a look at what's coming up on the Crimson Tide Sports Network this weekend. And our weekend update is always brought to you by Wickles Pickles. They are wickedly delicious. Always have the pickle chips, the relish with us on set here in Tuscaloosa. You can find more great products for your next Alabama tailgate online at wicklespickles.com. Let's see what's coming up across the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Well, tonight, the final softball regular season series of the year begins down on the plains at Auburn. At 7 o'clock start time, as Tom Canterbury, Gray Robertson will have you covered on the radio for that 3-game series against the Auburn Tigers tomorrow at 5, and then to wrap it up on Saturday at 11 a.m. I'll be making my way to Starkville, Mississippi coming up tomorrow, as we'll see Alabama baseball take on Mississippi State. Night game on Friday, followed by a 2 p.m. game on Saturday, and the 1 o'clock finale coming up on Sunday, May 5th. So all of that coming up all across the network. Make sure you're following us as well on all of our social media platforms. We'll have a lot of coverage, including some snippets of our upcoming interviews coming up on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We'll have some highlights of that coming up on all of our social media platforms moving forward, so make sure you follow us there. That is your upcoming schedule, presented by Wickles Pickles. And that's going to wrap up this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. A huge thank you to our guest, first of all, Telvin McClurkin from RFK Racing, his great breakdown of NASCAR meeting Alabama football at Talladega, but then the fun conversations we had with Kneeland Hibbett, long snapper for the Crimson Tide football team, and then Alabama baseball center fielder TJ McCants. Again, both of those interviews recorded at the Advantage Center at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Looking ahead to next week, we'll be talking some softball. Jocelyn Brisky will be on the show, as well as baseball left fielder Ian Petrutz. So a lot to look forward to coming up on next week's edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to Ethan Carabin, who produces those interviews you see and also puts together this entire show. We appreciate his work as well. For everybody with Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover saying thank you for watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Have a great weekend, everyone. Roll Tide.